Welcome to College Recruiting Unlocked, the game behind the game. I'm Coach Spree, and every week we pull back the curtains behind recruiting and talk about what it really is, right? Today's conversation is a special one. A special one because, not only that my guest is a father of an NFL athlete, but it's somebody I know, somebody that's from my hometown, what we like to call BMT, Big Money, Texas. So I'm excited about that. But I've watched his family's journey from youth sports to Friday night lights at Central High School in Beaumont, Texas, to the University of Texas, and eventually to the NFL. But one thing I remember, and it was either something I read or a video I saw, and it talked about your son's goal, and obviously he achieved them, right? And that's something we're definitely going to dive into as well. But you know, here's the question of it all. I want every parent, everybody that's watching today, to think about this. If that same journey started today in today's recruiting, would the recruiting path look the same? Probably not. Probably not. College recruiting has changed more in the last 5 years than it did in the previous 20 years. You got the transfer portal, NIL, roster limits, social media, technology, the way coaches recruit, the way athletes are evaluated. Everything has evolved. No different than offenses and defenses. They all have a base, but they all evolve. So the one thing that hasn't changed is parents still want to know how they can help their athlete, especially when their athlete has goals. So, Mr. James Locke, man, welcome to the show, man. I appreciate you taking time to jump on and talk with us today.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So before we even get into recruiting, let's go back to the BMT, Beaumont, Texas, man. I remember that story. Don't remember how I saw it or read it or whatever it was, but tell us a little bit about that, the childhood, him having that goal, and then, kind of what you got, the conversations you guys had to get to where he is.
Yeah. So it really started pretty young, So I think PJ started playing tackle football when he was about, I would probably say about 10 years old. And I remember him signing him up for the Beaumont Bulls. Okay, this is his first real contact sport. It's Beaumont Bulls. We done played in the yard a little bit. I taught him a little bit, but now we're talking about some full contact. And so I just know from experience that most kids that age, they got like a little bit of fear in their heart about getting hit. They don't want to get hurt. So I had to make sure I took that out of him. So after he got his little pass, I told him to go get dressed, put his whole uniform on. He said, I got a game, Daddy? I said, no, you have a game. I said, go put your uniform on and come on outside in the front yard. So he put his whole uniform on. He came outside. You can imagine what he looked like at 10 years old. The shoulder pads and all things were all loose. Knee pads to the side. He didn't look very. So I told him to get his 3-point stance. And so he kind of got down a little 3-point stance. And I said, okay, all right. And I hit him. And he turned to flip. His little helmet was turned to the side, and he said, "Man, why you hit me?" I said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "You hurt?" He said, "No." I said, "Nobody would hit you that hard." And I said, "You can survive that hit from me." I said, "You don't have to worry about getting hit by anybody your age that hard, because you're gonna be able to survive it. So you don't have to be scared." And so I took that fear out of his heart, you
Right.
know. And I told him, if you attack them first, playing defense, if you attack them first and you hit them first, you won't get hurt. Now I just told him that because I didn't want him, to be making a tackle and stop and get himself hurt. So he took it to heart. He took it to heart. And so at that point, he just had no fear. And so that's kind of when it all started. And then he went
Wow.
into Beaumont Bulls and he played well. He started really loving it. And then he was about maybe, I don't know, 11 years old. And then he wrote a little contract up and said from here on out, from this day forward, that he was going to do everything that was necessary to go to the NFL. And on that particular day, he worked every single day. He did something every single day, whether it was in the classroom or outside the classroom. He did something to get better. And he does the same thing today. Right
Wow.
now, if he come home to visit, you know, he'll get up early in the morning. He was just here last week. And by 6 in the morning, I see this joker pulling a sled around the house. Same thing
Oh,
that we did when he was a little kid. So it's just in him. But that's kind of how it started.
Well, see, and that what you just said is the reason why he stuck so long.
Hmm.
When you believe you've made it, you're about to you're about to let go of it. When
Oh,
you believe
absolutely.
you made it, you're about to let go. So tell me this: what at that time, growing up, all the way up into high school, what did you believe your role was as a father?
I felt like my role was to try to facilitate his dream. Whether I thought he could really make it to the NFL or not, it didn't matter. It was about trying to supply him with the tools necessary that he needed, to put his best foot forward. And honestly speaking, PJ was very, very small, because when he first said, I want to go to the NFL, Daddy, I was like, yeah, okay. He's 10 years old, and he
Right.
had he was a late bloomer. But at the same time, you if your child tells you they have a goal to do something, as a father, it's your job to help facilitate it. So we got to work. You know what I'm saying? 10 years old, he too young to lift weights and all those things, but I had him doing push-ups and sit-ups, and I had him, doing little sprints and plyometrics, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it started. And I think that's our job, whether they can do it or not. If they can dream it, we can try to facilitate it, and that's the way I looked at it.
Love it, love it. I think that's where a lot of parents kind of miss it, right?
Hmm.
Recruiting doesn't begin with highlight videos,
Oh
and
no.
it begins with the habits and characters developed long before college
Yes,
coaches ever
sir.
show up. So no,
Yes,
that's refreshing to hear, man. Really refreshing to hear. So
absolutely.
let's talk recruiting, man. I know when I called you on the phone about jumping on this, you were like, "Man, I don't know what recruiting changed, man. I don't know what I can help you with." But
Yeah.
but you can help us out with more than you actually know by talking about PJ's recruiting journey. So let's
Hmm.
let's go back into high school when it all kind of started for him, and and
Hmm.
and how you guys built that momentum and what
Hmm.
recruiting looked like.
So recruiting for him, I mean, first of all, I would say now, especially now, recruiting starts early,
Oh
much
God,
earlier than it did when PJ was there.
yeah,
I know kids has got offers in the eighth, ninth grade. So getting your kid ready for recruiting, it starts early. I mean, if they're serious, it starts very, very, very early. Especially if you have a kid that's got some real natural ability.
oh yes,
You have to recognize that, kind of figure out where they're going to fall in, because I think measurables, passing the eye test is what the coaches called it back in the day. If you pass the eye test for whatever position that they're trying to play, you got half the battle won. Because that's just genetics. So if you got a kid that want to play cornerback, and he's in the eighth grade, he already 6 foot and he 150, 160. You might have something. You know what I'm saying? So
right,
that's kind of where it started. But for PJ, of course, he had been working pretty hard since he was 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. It really heated up his 10th grade year.
Hmm.
He got his first offer to SMU, and that was after his 10th grade year. That was the spring of his 10th grade year. He played varsity. Had a really, really good season. I think he had about 3, 4 picks as a sophomore. He got his first offer from SMU. And then that's kind of when it started to warm up. He started getting camp invites. Back then, they had rivals. They had ESPN, and they were doing these invite only camps. And when you get invited to those camps, you get invited with all the other big recruits. And so, of course, they had writers out of all these camps. So what we did was we would like, let's say he was invited to a rivals camp. We would find all the best receivers, who's committed to LSU and Alabama and Georgia. When we find them, when we get there, we looking for him. Make sure y'all do one-on-ones. You find him, find him. You see what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Mhm.
Because if you can do one-on-ones and you can win against this LSU guy, that's gonna put you on the map because they're gonna write about it. And so that's what he did. And you can't back down, from competition,
Right.
and that's just the bottom line. And
Yeah.
so he went to these camps and he paired up one-on-ones with these guys, and he was getting them. Those guys writing about it, and all of a sudden now you got an up and coming guy from Beaumont, Texas. They reading about it, coaches pick up on it. And then after that, it just started to, it started to spiral. You know what I'm saying? Because if one coach give you an offer, let's say you get an offer from, Notre Dame, then other coaches gonna say, okay, wait a minute, why is he getting an offer from Notre Dame? They're gonna look into it.
Right.
Oh,
Mhm.
so it's kind of like a domino effect in a
Yep.
way.
Yep.
Hmm.
No, yeah, man, you hitting the nail on the head. Especially what I try to tell parents. It's like, especially when it comes to football.
Hmm.
Football, you have this great opportunity to go to a showcase and really show out. But so
Hmm.
many kids go to the showcase for the experience of the showcase. You know,
Right.
they're just showing up to run a 40. And look, to be quite honest with you, if your 40 is not top three, ain't nobody talking to you.
Man, I'm glad you said that.
Right, ain't
And
nobody.
I have told kids that before. I've told parents that because again, obviously, parents think I got some key to going to the big division one. I really don't. But one thing I can say is don't take your child. You got a child that's a defensive back, or some skilled position, and he's going to the 10th grade and he out there running the 5.2. A bad 40 time can hurt you just like a good 40 time can help you.
Amen.
So if your child is not ready to run the 40, don't run the 40. You know what I'm saying? Don't run it until you can run a respectable time because that bad time it's gonna follow you. It's gonna
I'm
follow you
fine.
with it. Yeah. So you can't. I always tell people don't put bad film out there. You
Right.
just don't do it. If he's not ready to run it, don't run it. You know. And like you said, parents just go out there and just take them out there just for the experience. But that's
Yep.
not good. We prepared. Every camp that we went to, we prepared for that camp. You know, and we made sure that 40 time was going to be on point. His agility is going to be on point. Everything was going to be on point because it's going to be recorded,
Yep.
and it's going to get put out there.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah,
It's almost like a stamp on your back, man.
no
You
doubt.
can't do it. You can reach back there all you want. It's on you. And we
Yep.
teach our athletes that are in our program, you know, for receiver running, five flat.
Hmm.
Camp's not where it's at. You need to be trained. You need to
Nope.
be trained.
That's
And if
right.
you truly want this and the parent truly wants to support it,
Hmm.
then we got to increase the 40 time, number one. Because if you do go and handpick the D1 DBs to go after, you're
Not
not
gonna
going to
win. That's
win.
right.
Not
That's
gonna
right.
survive.
Right.
You know what I mean? So all of that is still the same. That
Hmm.
hasn't changed. But what has changed is what exposure really is. If you're just not that kid that can go out and cover D1 athletes, if
Hmm.
you're a D2 or below athlete, you still have a chance to get scholarship. You have a chance to go play the game you love at the next level. Your
Hmm.
strategy is going to be totally different, right?
That's
You're
true.
going to have to use social media. You're
That's
going to
correct.
have to be strategic at some of these camps, which we help our athletes with as well. So,
Hmm.
but you're also right with one offer breeds other offers.
That's
Always,
right. No doubt
always.
about it. No doubt
The
about
college coaches are more competitive during the offseason than they are during the season.
it.
Oh, they're looking to see who's doing what, and when you're doing something, they're trying to steal, man. I mean, it's just the way it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
So, as a recruit, you should play into it. You get that one
Right.
offer, blast it. Let everybody know you got that offer. It may not even be who you even want to go to,
Yes, you're right.
use it to get other offers. So
Yeah.
don't let me get off the beaten path here, but you are hitting the nail on the head with some of the
Yeah.
conversations I'll be having with parents, man, just trying to get them to
Absolutely.
understand, right? You
Absolutely.
cannot follow the next family can't follow PJ's path.
That's
That was
right.
PJ's path,
That's right.
right?
That's
And these
right.
other kids there's kids that'll go to a camp and be the fastest at every camp. You won't follow that kid if if you're 40 times not even close to theirs. Your path's
That's
going to be
right.
different, but it's
That's
your
right.
path, man. It's
Yeah.
it's your path. So you definitely have to have a strategy. So
Yeah.
back then, right? Did it did it feel like relationships drove recruiting more than technology did?
Um, I would say it was probably 50-50.
Okay.
It was really about 50-50. Because as you know, in college, coaches move around a whole lot.
Oh God.
So coaches that were at one school and he was a freshman may have been somewhere else when he became a junior. So he built a relationship with somebody as a freshman, and that same coach that may have been in a small school when he was a freshman is now at a big Division 1 school, and now he's recruiting him. but that
Right.
coach remembered him and kept following. So building relationships absolutely played a big role. And social media did as well. Social media, I think, and I think even to today, even outside of football, your social media is important because they want to see what you're posting. They want to see what you're reposting. They want to see what you're doing because a lot of kids live their lives on Facebook. And so they'll monitor you on the cool just to see what you do because they are about to invest millions of dollars. Now with this NIA, they're money wise,
Right.
they're actually spending money, not only just scholarships. So they want to see what kind of kid they're getting.
Yep.
And then not the kid that's sitting in front of them with their parents and they're on their best behavior. What are you doing on your own? What are you
Yeah.
doing, when nobody's watching? What are you posting? So that's very, very, very important.
Yep.
And the last thing is not last thing, it should be first really, is grades.
Oh God.
Because man, that's number one, man. PJ graduated number 15, 16 in his class, magna
Wow.
cum laude. I think he had doggone 1B, and he was mad about that. But so he was a really, really good student on top of that. And
Right.
some of these big schools, they really want to see that. They want to make sure they have a kid that's also cerebral,
Mhm.
and not just not athletic, you know.
Yep.
So and we use those things. Anytime we posted him, we gonna post his measurables, his 40 time, his GPA, and then we're gonna post some videos. So let them see the whole picture of what the kid is looking like as a
Yep.
package. So to
Yep.
answer your question, I think it was 50-50 because
Yep.
relationships are always good. And then of course, social media is just a way to reach the masses, you know.
Yeah, we talk about social media being their digital resume, man, because that's what it is now.
Yeah.
They have coaches within programs now that's what they do. They have a
Mhm.
social media coach,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And not only a social media coach in recruiting, but a social media coach during the season for the guys
Yep.
that they do have in their program.
Yeah.
So they're managing, they're taking a look, and social media is going to tell them all they need to know, unfortunately, but
It's no
because
doubt
these
about
people are telling it all on
it. Yep.
social media.
Yep. Good or bad, it's gonna tell. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's some of the things that we try to teach our kids with a social media strategy. If
Mm-hmm.
you truly have a dream to play that sport in college, then your
Mm-hmm.
social media should exude that. It should be
No doubt.
nothing but that
Yeah.
sport. Why
I
use it
agree.
for anything else? You
I
know?
agree. I agree.
So,
And if you put your stuff out there, I remember PJ and I would go to Lamar and just video him doing footwork,
mhm,
W drills, cone drills, just because coaches know what it looks like. They know what it looks well, they know what good feet looks like. They know
right,
what come out of your break looks like. And once we perfected it, we would post it and let coaches see him move, see how they move. Another thing that helped us a lot was PJ came right behind Tony Brown.
mhm,
And Tony hit the scenes really, really early. As a freshman, he already had an offer to Alabama.
yep,
So Tony was on people's boards in the eighth grade. And PJ and Tony were really, really good friends already. And so they had a lot of videos of them working out. So
mhm,
now you got coaches that was looking at Tony, looking at PJ now.
love it.
And then PJ hits kind of hits the boards. And so when they come to Ozan to see Tony, they come to Central to see PJ. So that helped a lot also,
Yep,
just having another kid that was right ahead of him, that was a big recruit. Because
yep.
now the coaches, once they come to town, they here now. So who else out here, coach? You see?
Why
And
not?
so, yeah. So that helped a lot. It helped a
Yeah,
lot.
that goes down the lines of strategies, man. I mean, you
Hmm.
you you gotta think outside of the box when it comes to
Yeah.
recruiting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's crazy to even hear you say that you guys video PJ training.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I wish I could show you right. That is part of our strategy. I mean, we tell like go train, but video. I need
Hmm.
video. We want to show
Yep.
these coaches
Yep.
because you're right. A coach can look at, especially football, when you come to football in a skill position or
Oh
any
yeah.
football
Oh
field,
yeah.
they can take a look at your feet and know we got something here.
That's right. That's
Or
right.
you don't have something.
That's right. They're gonna know one way or another. But like
One
you
way
said
or
though,
another, man. One way.
you want to put good video out there. Again, if parents don't understand, you just go out there. Oh, Well, we gotta put some video out there, and you video him doing some backpedaling. He can barely backpedal, and you put it on social media. You just killed his recruitment. You
Yep.
know. So, in my opinion, if you really have no idea, join an organization like yours because now you can govern what they put out there because you're
Yep.
gonna make sure they put out information that's gonna be advantageous to the kid and not gonna hurt him.
Yeah.
Because just because you're running a bad 40 right now doesn't mean you're gonna run a bad 40 in a year or two. Because you can increase your 40, and
Absolutely.
that's very, very real. Honestly speaking, PJ had hamstring issues in the ninth grade. He just had real tight hamstring. He kept pulling them. So sometimes we go to camps. If he wasn't feeling good, or if he ran some 40s at home, and that time to me wasn't good enough, we didn't run the 40. We go to the camp and say we're gonna do one-on-ones. We're not running the 40 though, because I want
Yeah.
to make sure if he, and back then it don't sound too fast now, but back then if you ran 4.4, as a DB, you
Yeah.
good. If you went
Oh,
high school, you running 4.4, you good. And
that still
so,
holds true. It still holds true today. It still
yeah,
holds true.
yeah, yeah. But these cats running 4.2, 4.3s is like
Well,
4.3s is
well,
norm
and, and,
nowadays.
and, and when I say that, I'm talking to play college ball, period, as
Yeah,
a
yeah,
DB.
yeah, for sure, for sure,
Any level.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I made sure, if we at home and he consistently clocking 4.44, 4.45, okay, we good. But if his hamstrings are sore and them numbers are not what it's supposed to be, we're not
yeah,
gonna run it. And I'll just tell the camp, look, he gonna do one-on-ones, he gonna do the drills, but right now you got a sore hamstring and he's gonna run the 40, he won't run the 40. And
yeah.
ain't nothing wrong with that. There is nothing ever wrong with that.
Sometimes you only got one time. You
You
got
got
one
one
time
time.
to either shine or screw it up.
That's it.
And you can dictate what that looks like.
That's
Not the
right.
coach. You can dictate. So why not dictate it? I get so many families just believe chasing camps. I'm like, no, your
Mm-mm.
kid's
Mm,
not ready for a camp.
mm,
Now I have spoken to a family that kid 40 time wasn't very good, and they wanted to go to a local camp. I want to say University of Michigan. The family was in Detroit, and
mhm.
I told him, I said, if you go, do not run the shuttle 40, none of that. Just kind of, because if you're going for the experience, go quietly for the experience like you would never
Yeah,
been, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But I don't, that's not something I like to preach. They were adamant about going. They wanted the
yeah,
kid to see the big atmosphere and all that. I said, I
yeah.
understand. So anyway, but now, parents hear words like NIL, they hear transfer portal, roster limit, now the new 5-for-5 rule. And now it's the transfer portal already kind of pushed back the high school.
Mhm,
Because
mhm.
if you and I are a college coach, I'm going to look for a transfer portal kid to keep my
No
job
doubt about it.
as a school athlete.
That's right.
To keep my
Take the guesswork out. Takes the guesswork
Yeah,
out. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So now with the 5-for-5, it doesn't level the playing field by no means, but it does help high school athletes because it tells college coaches you need to get that young kid ready to go earlier now. You can't
yeah,
hide. You can't
yeah,
hide it. But
yeah.
do you think most families like truly understand how much those changes with NIL transfer? Do you think they really understand how that changes recruiting right now?
No, not at all. Because most of them don't understand recruiting at all. Regardless to if they come from a athletic background or not, most of them don't really truly understand. And I know just from my experience, and I'm gonna start referring them to you because this is what you do. But a lot of single mothers, will come to me. They'll just ask me, James, what can you do to help? They think I could pick up the phone and call a coach. Which I do have a lot of numbers. I really still
Right,
do.
right.
They may not be where they were when PJ was in school, but they're still in the system somewhere. But for me to do that, the kid has to be ready. And sometimes these kids are already seniors and they're
Mhm.
not getting any looks at all. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you done stacked up. You done stacked it up against yourself. So I just think the best thing is the earlier the better. If I got a kid in the sixth grade right now who really want to play and they got some potential, I'm after it.
Yeah.
I am after it right now. The older they are, you know, the more work they have to do,
Oh yeah.
because you have to make sure you can't be skipping a lot of stuff, but you can't put yourself out there if you're not ready. you know. And from my experience with these school camps, those camps are for kids that has made contact with these coaches, and these coaches and personally invited them to go. When you just, you know, sign up and just go, you just one of them numbers. They go there to see a select
Preach,
few,
man.
you know. So it's important to, you know, to get those relationships with those coaches early, make sure they're interested on some level, and then they say, hey, come to our camp, I want to come see you. And that way when you get there, you can go shake that coach hand and say, hey coach, I'm here, and they're gonna
Yeah,
put some eyes on you.
yeah, yeah.
But you just fill out a little registration form and show up, unless, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but you better get out there, you better stand out, you know,
Yeah, you better be different.
you better
You
be
better
different.
be different.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
and it's
better be different.
possible.
Well,
It's
we get a
possible.
lot of people that get it confused with invite. You know, if you take the SAT, your name goes into the
Mhm.
NCAA registration. So you start getting these invites that you have to pay $300 to go to a camp. That's not a real invite, right?
Right, right.
You're a name that popped up as someone that wants to play. So,
Hmm.
hey, if you want to play, pay us some money. We'll run you through
Yeah,
the ropes, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
not a true invite. You know, it's definitely not a true invite. But one thing I know, talent still matters. You know, that will never change in recruiting. Talent
Correct.
still matters. Grades, even more now than ever, still matters as well. You know, becoming a dual scholarship athlete,
Hmm.
being an athlete that can go dip into the academic money and save a
Hmm.
little athletic money for that kid. Maybe that's not, you know, where
Right.
they need to be GPA wise. That's big for coaches and it's bigger for athletes. Character still matters. So your social media, your digital resume, it absolutely matters. But today, having a plan, having a strategy, man, matters just as much now. Because
There's no doubt about it.
it's a whole bunch, it's a weed. The recruiting has weeds now, a lot of weeds, man. And if you don't know how to figure out your way through those weeds, you'll get lost. And another thing you said, you talked about seniors. We try our best. This may sound wrong, but we try our best not to help seniors because we put ourselves in a bad position trying to help.
Hmm. Yeah,
And but at the same time, being who I am, I mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
give it a shot, and we've
Right.
been lucky so far. We've
Yeah.
been lucky, and but as a senior with no offers, man, the chances are very
Sure.
very slim. But I tell families, you need to be willing to go wherever I can find you a place to go.
Right.
Period.
Right. Yeah. Because
That's
there's
the way
levels to
it is as a
this.
senior. Yeah.
It's levels to this. Because everybody think when you go to college, it's got to be Texas A&M and Georgia and Alabama and all that. But there's a lot of schools. There are smaller schools, and people don't realize NFL is very very represented now by smaller kids, but smaller schools.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, they'll find you. If you can play in college, they'll find you. You know, I see more and more kids that went to Tulsa and went to a lot of smaller schools that are
Yeah.
on these NFL rosters.
Yeah.
So, and they develop to be very, very good NFL players. So, you know, I think kids have to also remember that it's not all about big Division One. It
Yeah.
could be small Division One. It could be Division Two. It could
Yep.
be a situation where you got to transfer, you know,
Yeah.
but sometimes you got to get in where you fit in, you know, especially if you get a late start, you
Yeah.
know. So it's not a bad thing to go to a smaller school sometimes, you know,
Yeah.
it's really not
Just
because it's levels to this.
I just tell them, go show them that this is not you. I mean, go show them that
Mhm.
you're above this level. Go,
Mhm.
you know, I get some athletes and even some dad, you know, us dads, we got egos. I'm gonna tell you
Yeah.
right now,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, being a coach, I mean, God dang, I got an ego.
You
Somebody tell
already
me
know.
every day, calm your ego down. I know
Yeah.
I got one. But it's like trying to tell them they're looking at it wrong is like talking to a brick wall sometimes. I'll tell them, okay, look, if no D1 school is talking to you, we can't magically make it happen. But
Mhm.
if we have D2 schools that want you, well, go be D1 at one of these D2 schools and we
That's right.
transfer you out.
There you
Simple as
go. There
that.
you
It's
go.
that easy if you truly are who you say
Right.
you are, right?
Right. Right.
So, but that's the beauty of the transfer portal. And kids don't understand that transfer portal just unlocked a lot for an athlete that maybe is a late bloomer, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
just going in their junior year after their junior season, no offers on the table, and you can get something from a D2 school, but you believe you're D1, well, go be D1.
There you go. There
Turn
you
D2
go.
out, man.
There
Go
you
turn
go.
it out. I mean,
Turn it out.
You got you're 5 for 5. You're good to go. Plus the trip.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Take
true.
advantage of it. Take
That's
advantage.
true.
So the biggest difference today isn't necessarily the athlete. Athletes are getting bigger, stronger, and faster, right? They are
Hmm.
doing that. But it's the amount of information families have to understand the strategies required to navigate it. And
Hmm.
that's our initiative. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, and I'm a sucker for the single parent home. I know you talked about the
Right.
single
Right.
parent. I mean, there's so many moms with this unbelievable athlete walking in the house,
Yeah.
and you have so many people telling mom what they need, what she needs to do with
Hmm.
that athlete. Well, they get confused.
Yeah.
They get confused. And the number one solver for all of that is what I tell single parents is, look, your son's path or your daughter's path is their path. It's not going to always look like someone else's.
Right. Right.
So take that information. Don't let it confuse you. Just take it all in, and then let's sit down and work out
Hmm.
this athlete strategy, because
That's
that
right.
has a strategy. The kid if he fits the eye test or she fits the eye test, oh, it's over. It's a
That's
wrap.
right. That's
It's a
right.
wrap.
That's
So,
right.
but yeah,
That's
you guys built a strategy back then,
hmm
before we even had all the weeds of what we have now.
yeah.
That's still prevalent today, is coming up with a strategy, coming up with a plan. This is how we're going to do it. This is how we're
Mhm.
going to attack camps. This is how we're going to attack the season. This is how we're going to train. It all needs to be. If it wasn't, everybody would make it to the NFL, and
There's
we
no doubt
know
about it.
that's not true.
That's no doubt about it, man.
Yeah,
I keep saying, man, there's levels to it. And you have to figure out where your child fits in. And you have to understand that. And you have to understand as kids, and I'm pretty sure you already do that with your clients, is to be honest with them,
oh, yeah,
whether or not they're a big Division 1 player, or if they're borderline, if they're a Division 2 player. They have to be able to, be open to somebody telling them the truth.
yeah,
Because, like you said, as parents, especially if we really don't know what it looks like, we think our child is, supposed to be going to Texas.
right,
So they need to really get with a person like you and had that conversation. They may be that person to go to Texas, but if they're not, you can guide them to a level where they can play, be successful, and like you said, maybe jump into that portal and move on. So I think that's where you become very, very important. You know what I'm saying? Because it has changed to that point, to where there's you have ways and avenues to getting the kid where he needs to be, where he's supposed to be. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Off your evaluation. Because if you're a parent and you can't evaluate your child, then it's tough. Because now
right,
you shooting for something that you can never reach. You know,
right, right.
or you may have a kid sitting here that's that guy, that's really that guy, but you don't know how to get him in front of the right people. You know,
Mhm.
there's a kid
Yeah.
right now. You may know him. I can't call his name. He lives in my
Oh,
neighborhood. He goes to Hampshire Finette. And I saw this kid at PJ's camp, and he's about 6'2". He was probably about 205. I mean, big giant kid. And my neighbor was saying, yeah, they got him playing linebacker or something. And he had one offer, like from, I don't know, I want to say maybe SMU. He had
mhm.
the offer in the 10th grade, and that's the only offer he ever got. Well, it's because he lived with his grandparents and just didn't get what he needed. But that's the one that slipped through the cracks because
Yeah,
he passed the eye test. He fast. You could have helped him,
yeah,
but they
yeah.
didn't.
It's so many like that, James, man,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
frustrates me
yeah,
because at the end of the day, look, I'm a very straightforward person, and at the
yeah.
same time, I'm very transparent. So I think the
Right.
two play off of each other. And I tell people, yeah, I cost, but I cost because I work. I cost because
Absolutely.
I work, and what we do works. We're 100% placement, man. We're
Yeah.
100% placement. It's not to brag, because we are selective. We don't just bring. We're not an open door pop. We're not what's out there. All those recruiters.
Right.
We're not what's
Right.
out there. So,
Right.
but when there's a decision to make as a parent to like actually take our help and advice,
Mm-hmm.
finances get in the way, and I hate that. I really hate that, because one thing I do know, we barely cost a fraction of what college costs. That's one thing I know. And the other thing is, it's hard for a parent to evaluate their athlete. It's
Yeah.
hard. I
No,
mean,
absolutely.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
absolutely hard. And sometimes the worst thing a parent can do is disappoint their child. And if you evaluate your athlete wrong and it's a detriment to them getting to the net, God,
No,
can you
no.
only imagine how that feels, man? That couldn't feel good at all. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah,
Absolutely.
man. So look, we're gonna wrap it up with this, man. I know you're busy, but we do what's called a lightning round, man. So I'll ask you a question, one sentence or less will be your answer. All right. So we're gonna run
Okay.
a couple of these. So
Okay.
first one, the biggest recruiting myth you think?
That, every kid is kind of told they're big Division 1 material,
Yep.
you know, and that's why I keep saying it's levels.
Yep.
But I think it's one of the big myths.
Got it. Next one, most underrated quality in a recruit. Most underrated quality in a recruit.
Education, grades.
Booyah. I love it. Booyah. All right. So, what's one thing parents should start doing this week? Like this week, right now. They have that kid.
Work on his craft. Whatever that may be. If he's a quarterback, if he's a DB, if he's a lineman, I think that kid, he needs to work on his craft every single
Boom.
day of his life.
Booyah. All right. So, what's one thing parents should stop doing immediately?
That's kind of relative to the knowledge of the parent a little bit. So I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I think they would have to stop thinking they know everything
Yep. I,
and
I like
be
that.
open to someone that has knowledge.
I like that. I like that. Last one. Last one. Finish this sentence. Recruiting today is.
Nothing like it was 10 years ago.
I like it. I like it. All right. That was our lightning round, man. So let's end this episode with hold on. Let's do this. Complete this sentence for me. If I had a son or daughter beginning the recruiting process today,
Mhm.
one thing I would do this month is
Again, if I'm a parent that doesn't have a lot of knowledge, and I'll honestly look up a person like you.
I
I,
appreciate
honestly speaking, I would probably look up a person like you and see exactly what all you offer. Because if I have nowhere, I don't know what to do. I don't know, the first thing to even start working on. I would find somebody that I can talk to. I can shake your hand. I can look you eye to eye and actually tell me exactly what recruiting is about. And I will let a person like you tell me. Because if you're a parent and all you know is I got a child and I want to facilitate that child to get to that goal, that's what I would do, honestly. That's
yeah.
what I would
I got to make sure my listeners know I'm not sending you a check in the mail. But,
do. No, no,
I got to listen. I'm telling you, I'm not paying the man.
no, no, no,
No,
no.
but
That's real
you're
talk.
correct. But you're correct. Whether it's me or anybody else, and you have the right to ask whoever this person is all the questions in the world.
Yeah,
How they're going to do it, what they're going to do, the whole nine.
yeah,
And if they're afraid to answer those questions, it's not the company or the program for you.
yeah.
But man, recruiting is not the same.
It's not.
It's just not the same. It's definitely not the same back when
No.
I was in it, but it wasn't the same just 5 years ago, man. It just isn't. So
Yeah,
so let's
yeah,
wrap it up. I think every parent watching, this conversation now understands one thing. The recruiting playbook has changed. It absolutely
definitely.
has changed, but a lot has stayed the same as well.
Yeah,
Talent still matters. Academics will always matter. Your GPA gets you through admissions. If you can't get
yeah.
through admissions, there's no need to talk to you about an athletic scholarship. It ain't
That's
happening,
right.
right?
That's right.
Character and work ethic. Oh my goodness. I mean, you can have the GPA, you can have the talent, but boy, if your character is bad, they can find that out now. Back in the day, you could hide it.
Yeah.
High school coaches could pump you up a little bit, and then you get over there like, man, this guy's a butthole. Nobody
Yeah,
knows.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
now. They'll find out now with technology.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
character and work ethic will always matter as well. But in today's recruiting, the landscape of families need a plan. You need a plan. They need direction. They need to understand that, how college coaches evaluate athletes and what it really takes to get, in front of the right programs as
That's
well.
right. That's right.
Understanding what your evaluation is. So if this episode helped you, share it with another parent, with a coach, an athlete. One conversation can change the course of someone's recruiting journey. I'm Coach Espree, and this has been College Recruiting Unlocked, the game behind the game. We'll see you next time for another conversation that gives you the knowledge, the perspective, and the confidence to navigate today's recruiting world. Until then, keep learning the game behind the game.